What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So I want to answer this question, and I've had a few people ask me the same question, and I think it's a good question to discuss. And so that's what we're going to focus on in this video. But first off, on this channel, we talk about money and the financial struggles that Americans are facing today. If that sounds like something interesting to you, please subscribe to the channel and hit that little bell notification. That way you get notified anytime we put out a video. And like always, if you see my name and a picture of me in the comment section, make sure you see a check mark next to my name. That check mark signifies that it's me. If you do not see that check mark, it's not me. It's someone trying to impersonate me. Okay, so let's talk about this question that people are asking me a lot. Now, I'll post it on the screen, but I'm not going to read it verbatim. But the bottom line is they're asking, why are you outside of the U.S. so much? Why are you traveling so much? And I think it's a good question. And I want to start talking about this more on the channel. Now, I'm not an expat, okay? I'm not a full-time. I don't live outside of the country full-time. I don't live outside of the country part-time. But the first reason that I'm outside of the U.S. so much is because I just retired. I retired about 8 months ago. And one of the things that I said, when I retire, I want to be able to travel. I want to be outside of the country. I want to see different things. And in my job, in my previous job, I was on call pretty much 24/7. So even when I took time off, I was still answering the phone and handling situations. And the only time that I was able to really kind of put my phone down is when I traveled. And so when I did work, I traveled from time to time, but it was only maybe 7 to 10 days. I couldn't spend a long period of time outside of the US. And so that's the first reason there. Now the second reason is because of the US dollar. The US dollar is so strong. If you travel outside of the country, you would be amazed at the type of lifestyle that you can live. And right now I'm in Colombia, and I'm telling you, I've never gone into a store, I've never gone into a restaurant and thought about, wow, how much is this going to cost me? And that's pretty amazing. It's an amazing feeling when you can just go into a restaurant and order whatever you want. You don't have to really worry about the price of things. Now, going to restaurants, the food is very, very good. It's top notch. We're not talking about just going to a little fast food restaurant. I'm talking about going to some really nice high-end restaurants and ordering some really good food. And your bill, let's say a meal for 2 people, the bill comes to $40, maybe $50. That's if you add some drinks with it, alcoholic drinks. And another thing, housing. Housing is very, very reasonable. It's very reasonable out here for what you get. I mean, I could be on the beach, have a beachfront condo, and it costs me maybe $400 to $500 for the month. And that's if I'm doing it not through Airbnb. If you're going through Airbnb, it's probably going to cost you a little bit more. It's probably closer to $1,000 for that month. But if you go through a realtor, like if you're living out here and you want to spend a significant amount of time, 3 months, 6 months, then you can do that. You can easily do that for between $400 and $600, and you're right on the beach. And so that's another reason. The dollar goes so far here that it just makes sense. And there's so many other examples that I can give you, but when it comes down to it, I can really get a lot for my money when I travel. Now, this is not all destinations, because some destinations are very, very expensive. But I like to go to countries in South America, and in South America, generally, you're going to get a real big bang for your buck. Now, another reason is just being on vacation. And being on vacation for this year, I've been on vacation for 5 months. And when I say being on vacation, yes, I'm retired, so technically, I don't have a job to go back to, but just that feeling of being in a different place and allowing yourself to be on vacation for a long period of time and do excursions and do what tourists do. I like it. I like that lifestyle. And when you get tired of one area, then you go to another area. When you get tired of that area, you go to another area. So for as far as stress, it's stress-free for me. I mean, it really is. Being in another country, not really thinking about all the stressors that you'll get in the U.S. when you're living there. I mean, I still have some of the same responsibilities. I have a house. I have to pay my bills for my house and all that. But it's just different. It feels a lot different being in another country because it feels like I'm on vacation. And another reason, I've always wanted to learn about different cultures and learn how people do things in different countries. And my first exposure was back in 2009. I actually came to Colombia for the first time, and I had never traveled outside of the country with exception to going on some cruises in Mexico, which if you're on a cruise, if you've ever gone on a cruise, it's not really living in another country because you're on a boat and you'll dock and then you'll get off the boat for maybe 8 hours and then you get back on the boat. But living in another country, spending time in another country, more than 8 hours, is that the first time that I did that was back in 2009. And one of the things that I really remember about that trip is how similar things are in the US compared to Colombia. And the other thing that I learned is how culturally people live differently. And you might think, like I would always think this before I started traveling, so I would always think that people in other countries are just not happy. They all want to come to the US. That was my thought because I had never traveled anywhere else. But the reality is people are happy all over the world, and I have been able to travel not just to Colombia but to a lot of different places, and you will find that people are happy. They're content with life, and not everyone wants to come to the US, believe it or not. And another thing, when it comes to just the cultural differences, you will find some different things that different ways that people live their life, and some things you might do. And this comes to mind when I first came to Colombia back in 2009. One of the things we do in the US is we slam car doors, and that's generally because the cars that we have are pretty big, and so like if you have a truck and things like that, you want to slam the door to make sure the door is shut. But in Colombia, that's an insult. Okay, it's almost like, and this is the best way I can explain it, and I never really thought about this until I came to Colombia, but let's say someone comes to your front door and you're talking to them, and then before they're walking away and you slam that door on them. It's an insult, right? If someone did that to you, you would be insulted. Like let's say you go to their house and for dinner, and then at the end of the night they're leaving and you slam that door and it slams hard. So that's the same feeling that Colombians get when you're in a car and you get out of that car and you slam the door. So if you're ever in Colombia, just make sure you remember that, because it's an insult. And the situation that we had, me and a couple of friends, we were out here catching cabs, catching Uber. Actually, they didn't have Uber at that time, so we were catching cabs. And every cab that we got out of, we slammed that door. And the cabs here are very, very small cars. And so after second or third time that we slammed the door, the taxi driver would say suave, suave, because we would slam the door getting in and slam the door getting out. And so you just learn different things, and it makes sense. And so now I'm always thinking about that. Even when I'm in the US, I'm thinking about that. I don't want to slam the door too hard, because if you think about it, it's an insult if you do something like that. And so just being aware of things like that. And then there's so many different other things that you learn culturally, and the food is different, and you learn about how to eat different foods and just history in different parts of the world. And it's amazing how much you can learn just by traveling about the world and about the US, because you'll see a lot of influence in Colombia, a lot of US influence. You go to the stores here and you see the clothes and it's all English. The clothes is all, the writing like on t-shirts and things like that, it's all English. You see rappers on t-shirts out here, and people wearing New York hats and LA Dodger hats. And so there's a huge influence coming from the US in Colombia. And you wouldn't really know that if you didn't travel and actually see it for yourself. I even saw, and I live in Southern California, so In-N-Out Burger is a real popular restaurant, fast food hamburger place. And I saw, and I wanted to stop this young lady, but I was standing in line, so I couldn't. But she walked by and she had an In-N-Out shirt on. Now I don't know if she's from the U.S. She could have been from the U.S., but she was wearing. I wanted to stop her, but I couldn't stop her because I just wanted to ask her, hey, where'd you get that shirt from? Oh, I'm from the U.S. I'm from Southern California. Okay, or I'm in Colombia and someone sent me the shirt and I'm wearing it. So anyway, that is another reason why I like being outside of the U.S. At the current time. And then the last reason is, since I retired, I've always wanted to look at different options. Okay, now I'm not saying I'm leaving the U.S. full time, but part time is something that I'm very, very interested in. Maybe doing 5 to 6 months out of the year in another country. And one thing I wanted to do is learn Spanish, and so that's why I'm spending a significant time in Colombia, because I'm learning Spanish now. Another thing is I'm looking at business opportunities out here. I could potentially open up a business here and doing something. One of the things that I love to do is photography. So there's a variety of different reasons why I would want to spend a lot of time outside the U.S. I love the U.S. I actually love working in the U.S. I'm glad I was able to retire early, and that U.S. dollar, that's one thing that I really want to remind people of. The U.S. dollar is so strong in other countries. It makes sense to travel. It makes sense to get out there and spend that U.S. dollar, because it will go a long way. And so ultimately, those are the reasons. And when I look at the business opportunities, when I look at potentially living in another country for 6 months out of the year, it's exciting to me. It really is. And that's what's really pushing me at this point. I love the U.S. I love working there and spending time with my family. But I also want to get out and learn different things. I don't want to just sit in the U.S. and not take advantage of the opportunity that I have to retire early and see what else is out there. And so that's what I'm doing. So hopefully that answers your question. If you guys have other questions, post them down below. You'd be surprised. I read pretty much all of the comments. I might not respond to every comment, but I will read them. And if you guys have questions, especially questions like this, and I know the person that asked this question, they said you don't have to answer this, but yeah, there are a lot of questions that I want to answer. And there are a lot of questions that I've heard before, and this is one of the questions that I've heard from time to time. Why are you in Colombia? Why are you outside the U.S.? And so now I'm answering it for you guys. So if you guys have any other questions, post them down below. Hit the like button on your way out. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.